Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rockland Arts Festival. This is our first day of events. My name is Michael Kraft. I'm one of the coordinators of the Rockland Arts Festival. Please go to www.rocklandartsfestival.org to check out all the events that are coming up through February 9th. You have to register for them. Also, we will be giving away a prize at the end of this event, so stay tuned to find out who the winner is. If you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A, and I will let Jane know your questions. But we are welcoming Jane Cowles, arts attorney, and she's going to be chatting a little bit about art laws. Welcome,
Thank
Jane.
you, Michael. Thank you. And thank you for having me. And welcome to the Rockland Arts Festival. Today is your opportunity to, for the next 30 minutes, ask me questions about law and how it might relate to your artwork, your art business. I frequently deal with general contracts, whether it's agreements with galleries, whether it's agreements for custom works, licensing of your art, copyright, trademark. If you are employed in a creative profession, who owns the art that you create? Is it yours or is it the employer's? So with that, ask away. I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, there are no questions yet.
Okay. Michael, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, wait a second. Deborah Weiss has raised her hand. Deborah, are you able to write your question in the Q&A? And Stacy Gilmartin, are you able to type your question out in the Q&A? Here we go. We have an art pricing question. The art pricing question I sent you info about, I'm not sure, individual pieces or as a group? All right, I'm not sure. Fran, can you be a little more specific on that one? I'm not sure what you said.
Oh, this is
You know?
Francisco.
Yes.
Hi, Fran. It's Jane. So we were chatting a bit about whether we value work individually, piece by piece, or as a group. There are a couple different ways to do it. And mainly, it depends on what you're looking for, what the purpose of the valuation and the context is. So if you're going to value pieces individually, typically that's going to result in the highest best price that you're going to get and a more accurate valuation for each individual work. When you value pieces as a group, typically this is done when there are a large group of art that are of similar nature, and it's going to depress the value. Because if you have a large group and you're doing a large valuation, the thought is that you're flooding the market, just basic supply and demand principles, and that you're going to get a lower, more depressed view. The IRS website does have more guidance on bulk valuations and individual, but I think, Fran, we can talk more offline about this. But you, I think that basically if you want a higher valuation and you want to address each of the individual characteristics of a piece, I would value each piece individually.
Okay. Next up, we have a question from Alexis Stark. What is the law as far as using the works of famous artists for teaching purposes, for example, in a Zoom lecture?
Okay. I actually just dealt with this. You are looking at fair use, Alexis. So the United States Copyright Office website talks about fair use, but for educational purposes, you are fine. You might want to take a look at the link in that website. I can send it to you later. You can feel free to email me. But you are okay to use it for educational purposes, solely educational purposes. You're not allowed to use it for commercial purposes without permission, and that permission will usually come with some sort of an agreement, typically a licensing agreement.
Okay, Deborah Weiss has a question, and that is, she says, we do outdoor events periodically with groups of youth. They get community service hours for their participation. What are the copyright laws for use of music at such free outdoor events?
Free outdoor events. Okay. Here's the question. Is there any educational component or nonprofit component to this? I would be hesitant to use it without some sort of permission. In this case, you could be having a free event, but it could still be viewed as for commercial gain because that free event could be a form of marketing slash advertising to gain new clients or gain awareness about your brand.
Okay, Stacy Gilmartin, she has a question. How or should you trademark your art craft?
How should you trade it?
Trademark.
Trademark it? Do you have a logo? Typically, the logo is what you are going to be trademarking. The individual pieces are not trademarked. That copyright relates to that.
Okay, next one is from Ruth. What are some ways to arrange for the disposition of your work after death?
Create a trust and put all the art in a trust. It doesn't matter whether it does matter whether it's revocable or irrevocable, but that's like a whole nother discussion. And then that easily passes on without probate if you have a beneficiary. Or just or have it in your will.
I don't know if I should jump around because we're getting like follow-up questions to some of the questions that are
Why
out.
don't we try to get
Go-
everyone first? And
I'll
if we
just
have
go in
time,
order.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Next one is James. When auditioning for a role in a play, dance, film, if you suspect you were turned down because of your race, gender, religion, how would you go about proving that?
That's a tough one. That goes more into discrimination and human rights than it does art. You have to kind of look at a pattern, I believe, but this is out of my wheelhouse. So it's an interesting question, but like I said, you got to look at it like a pattern of discrimination and non-acceptance of certain members of protected classes, meaning like race, gender, that kind of thing.
Okay, next question is from Arabella. Hi, I'm a painter and often make commission pieces for customers. Do I need to copyright each painting?
You don't need to. I mean, or if you're worried about it being stolen and used, I mean, it happens. If you want to be sure about everything, yes, I do recommend copywriting it. An easy way to do it is a lot of my clients who don't want to go to a copyright attorney use Copyright Index and have found success with that.
I'm going to go right to, she also follows that up with also the works I make and sell on my own. Do these need to be copyrighted too?
Same answers, before.
Okay. Stacy Go Martin, we had a follow-up. Difference between copyright and trademark.
Okay, copyright relates to works of art. So think literary works, dance choreography, visual arts, film, play scripts. Trademark has to do with think McDonald's, 7-Eleven, Saks Fifth Avenue, any like Target, any kind of logo that you see, that's what you get trademarked.
Okay, next question from Jesse Taylor. When is it appropriate to get your work insured, valued? Who is the deciding party regarding the valuation standards?
Go to the IRS website. They are going to have valuation standards. Who do you go to? You can use your insurance company. That's one valuation. Their value might be different from going to, let's say, Sotheby's or any kind of art auction house. Or they have their art certified art appraisers.
Okay, next question is from Svetlana. What kind of business is most fitting for an artist to establish?
Do you mean how it's set up? If you're talking about setup, depends on what you're looking to do, how many people are involved in your actual business, meaning like, do you have other people involved? Typically LLC or an S corp is beneficial if you're paying yourself a salary.
Okay, the next question is from Tony. I started a nonprofit called, sorry if I don't pronounce this right, Diaspora Art recently, and will be organizing art-centric events. There will be visual artists and other artists participating in the events, along with one or more educational speakers on topics relating to diasporas, refugees, etc. If our artists are donating their works to be sold on a tax-deductible basis, is there any way to pay the artists from the proceeds or otherwise?
The proceeds of the event, if you're taking in ticketing fees, I would look at everything that comes in and you can divide that up among the artists.
Okay. This is a follow-up from Deborah, her original question was about the outdoor events with groups of youth and the music, and she does say that our events are nonprofit and educational.
You should be okay then.
Okay. We have anonymous attendee. As an artist, is everything I create considered my intellectual property?
Yes.
Okay. From Kelly Perez, how can I copyright jewelry designs? I make one of one pieces.
Jewelry designs go with a design patent that's different because it has a functional component to it and other components. I currently work with a client and we do design patents for jewelry. If you have any questions, you can follow up with me.
Okay, we have a question from Evelyn. When writing my memoir, do I have to change names and characteristics to protect the guilty and myself?
I would want to, but that's just me.
Okay. Okay, any other questions from the audience? Those were some good questions.
Yeah, they were really good questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
If if artists are gonna go in on a studio together, studio gallery space together,
Okay.
if I guess there's a couple questions with this. Do people do that group does that group of artists, like if they name the gallery or studio, whatever name,
Yep.
how does that work? Do they have to register that name? How does that work?
Okay. I would, if you were gonna get into a gallery and own it grouply, first of all, I would form an LLC. Just because you want to limit your liability. And then within the LLC's name would go on the gallery, and then you would each be members of the LLC. That make any sense, Michael?
Yeah, yeah, and just I mean, how much do LLCs normally cost? About is there a
It's like a
ballpark?
filing fee, 250, 300. And then you might, certain states have different requirements, like New York requires publication requirement. So you have to publish notice that you've formed a new entity. So just things of that nature. So
Okay, we have more questions here. Um, can you explain design patents more?
you can go to the patent website and look and find out more about what goes into a design patent. But as I described, um, a functional component. So furniture, for example, has a design patent as opposed to a copyright, because you can sit on a chair and it can also be a work of art. You typically don't sit on paintings or use paintings for any specific purpose. All jewelry has design components. Clothing has a functional component. So something that you use would have a design patent.
Okay, Stacy asks, I create flatware, wire wrapped and beaded, like jewelry for your table, and interested in your design pattern. How is design patent different from a copyright?
I just answered that question.
Okay. If I paint a mural for a business, are they allowed to print the image on t-shirts, for example?
No,
No.
you need a licensing agreement or they need your written consent.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, it's come up before.
I'm sure there's probably a fine line there, right?
That's why I say if you're working for that business, be sure that you know who you're creating it for, because a lot of times what'll happen is in the contract, it'll say something called work for hire. If it says work for hire, you're out of luck if they use it on t-shirts because it's theirs. It's not yours.
Okay, another question from Fran. If several artists combine their collections of art and put all of it in an LLC, can the LLC sell shares in the LLC, and will the copyrights extend to the pieces of the LLC?
Um, to your first question, yes, you can sell shares. To your second question, um, are the underlying works copyrighted? I do not believe you can copyright membership interests in an LLC.
Any other questions? We went through that quick. My God, 20. Oh, wait a second. I think we've got more. Yes, we do. Okay. From Tony, for creating Derivative artwork from images. Is there a lifespan for a photo copyright, for example, for public figures?
A lifespan, I believe it's 75 years. You have to look it up when it expires, but the copyright website and the libraries, they say when certain things are released into the public. Like you'll read stuff in the New York Times, like Mickey Mouse is released into the public, and then you can use it royalty free.
Okay. Uh, Regarding design patents, when do they become a utility patent? Is it a matter of the degree of functionality?
I believe so, but I am not a patent expert. That is once again not in my wheelhouse, and you're gonna have to look at that.
From LD, how does transformative use in the copyright law apply to visual artists?
It goes back to Alexis's question of whether, when we were talking about fair use. So a good case to look at is, I believe it was Andy Warhol and Prince. He did that, he did images of Prince, and there was a whole lawsuit about whether he was copying the work of the photographer who took the photograph, or whether his painting was something new and expounded in a creative and different way onto the photograph. So transformative looks at, is it different, or have you added something to an existing artwork? My thing is, if it, you look at the two, you compare them side by side, and if they look substantially different, then that's a good indication that you have a transformative piece. Now, if you put them side by side and ask Michael or me to look at them and we say, gee, that's the same thing, the transformation has not taken place.
Okay. Any other questions? This was very good. We have
Yeah, it
lots of good
was.
questions. Okay, we have more. Jane, what advice do you have for visual artists that you haven't covered?
Get everything in writing. Um, don't make any assumptions, and get a deposit. That's the hugest thing. Get a deposit. Do not start work and not get paid, and then at the end have someone say, well, it wasn't what I wanted. Always take a deposit and make it non-refundable, particularly when you are dealing with custom works. People will ask for the world and then get very picky at the end.
Okay, we have another question. Can I write a story and mention a celebrity as part of a creative non-fiction story?
Mention a celebrity? Sure.
Okay. Does transformative also relate to any positive aspects generated by the piece? For example, a parody of a song that is uplifting compared to its original use. That's from Fran.
Parody is a whole different thing, Fran. So look up parody, and parody, I believe, falls under the fair use because it's into comedy and commentary.
Okay. On social media platforms, should I be adding my artist's business name as a watermark for all of my posts where I am sharing a new jewelry piece? Or is it just posting as is good enough? That's from Kelly.
I would watermark the pieces because people steal them off Instagram and like print them and do all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
my thought is watermark those pieces.
I do. I put watermark. I mean, of course, people can like remove them nowadays if they want
Yeah,
to, but it's always
yeah.
good to have it on there. Um, can you quote lyrics from a song on a painting? That's from Tony.
That's a little gray. I would want to get permission in that case.
Okay, so we're getting, oh no, we have more. Should I sign every artwork I create?
Yes. I mean, it's really, that's a stylistic question, not a legal question, but why wouldn't you?
Question from Jesse. There is a website, copyrightindex.com. Is this reputable or is it better advised to use .gov?
Um, .com copyright index, my clients have used it. That's basically for filing. .gov is the source of the law. Don't rely on what copyright index says as law.
Okay, from Alexis. If you create an event, is that protected in any way? For example, could someone else try to do the exact same event without repercussion?
Sure. What's stopping them?
Okay, so we're getting close to time. If is there anybody else with any other questions? I think this was very informative. There was a lot of great questions from the audience.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great.
This is very good. Okay, well, thank you, Jane, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All of the events are being recorded and they will be on YouTube for viewing later on. Now, are we ready for the winner? Okay, so for this event, we are giving away it's 2 free admission passes to the Levity Live Comedy Club. Each pass admits two people, and the winner is Arabella Wilson.
Congratulations, Arabella.
Wow! So Arabella, please send your address to rocklandarts at gmail.com. You're going to have to email your address so we can send you the um, the prize. All right, Svetlana raised her hand. Do we have a question? Okay. Arabella, so just be sure to, like I said, send your address to rocklandarts at gmail.com and so we can mail you your prize. And thank you, Jane Coles, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. Always a pleasure.
And everyone, please check out www.rocklandartsfestival.org to check out all the upcoming events. Our next event is coming up on Sunday. You have to register, and we hope to see you all there. Have a good day.